Welcome to this demonstration of creating business object from existing tables and views in Oracle Visual Builder. My name is Shai Schmelzer. In this demonstration, we'll show you how to leverage existing tables and views in an Oracle database in a new application that you're creating in Visual Builder. We'll show you how to connect to the database schemas, how to pick up tables and views that you want to expose in your application, how to create the REST interface on top of them and add your own business logic to the business object, and how simple it is to create the user interface to interact with those business objects, providing you with a full set of CRUD operations on the data. So I'm here in my database. That's an Oracle database in the cloud. I have a bunch of tables over here. I also have views defined in my database. Okay. In Visual Builder, if I want to use those tables, I would need to go into my tenant setting in my setting for my Visual Builder instance. And under the general ones, I need to be connected to that database. This should be my tenant database. So again, this is bringing in an external database to replace the built-in database. Now, if I want to also use tables from an existing schema, I would need to add the schema over here to the list of available schemas. So let's add the schema, which is called Shai. Now that the schema has been added, I can use it in a new application that I'll create. So let's create a simple customers application. And the first thing you'll want to do is in your application settings under business object, if you want to use tables from an existing schema, you need to select the schema over here. So again, the list of schemas here is going to be reflecting the same list that you have in your instance settings. So we're going to use tables from the Shai schema. Now that we did this, we can go into our business object and click to create a new business object. Now you'll notice that what we're getting here is a different view. It's not actually creating a business object. It actually allows us to pick up an existing table from our database. It's either tables or views. We're going to see both of them over here. So let's pick up the countries table. We then go over and investigate the structure of the table in the database and show you all the fields over here. If there's a primary key defined, you'll see it over here. You can also go in and modify fields. So for example, if you want to change the field name, you can do it over here. Okay. And also can also change the title like that. All right, let's create this business object. So now we have a business object on the table. We can actually see the data in the data palette. We can also have all the endpoints that allow us to do all the CRUD operation against that table. Let's add another business object. This time we're going to pick up the customers table. And we get all the fields again. We're just going to click create this time. And you can see that we now have a relationship between the tables. So Visual Builder is smart enough to recognize defined foreign key, primary key relationships and create them inside Visual Builder for you. In addition, you can also create business objects that are based on views. So for example, the active customer sales is actually a view that fetches information from two tables in the database. Okay, so from the customers, it fetches the customer name, and from another table that has the sales information, it fetches the total of the sales. So it's also using a function. You need to indicate which field is going to be the primary key in the business object because we need one. And you click finish, and now we have the additional business object over here. Now, on those business objects, you can also create validations and business rules if you need to over here. Okay, so for example, if we are looking at the customers, we can add a business rule. So we can add an update, for example, when we are doing an update, um, just to check some condition. So we can do execute conditionally, add a condition, for example, to check if the first name equals shy, and then we can do some action. For example, we can update the record, and we can update something. For example, we can update the email to be shy@oracle.com. Right. So that's our business rule. So as you can see, full functionality on your business object. The next thing I'm going to show you is that it's very easy now to build the UI on top of it. So let's create a new customers applications, and we'll add a customers page here, for example. And on the left side in the data palette, we have all our business objects. So let's create, for example, the ability to search for a specific customer. We'll put in a field here for the customer ID, and we'll store the data from this field in a new variable, search ID. And then we can take and drag the customer over here and drop it, for example, as an edit form. Okay, we can choose which fields we want to allow to edit. We can, for example, reposition fields like that. So we'll do the customer name here, and let's also pick up the email. And move the email also to be up here, like that. We'll do the search based on the new variable that we created, the search ID. And the update would also be for the same ID. So if we now switch to live mode and we type in an ID, we can get the data. Notice that the relationship between customer and countries resulted in us automatically having this drop-down list that shows us all the countries from the countries table. Also notice if we update the customer name to Shy and then we go and click Save, the email is automatically updated to the value that we set. The other thing that we can show you here is that if we take, for example, the view object and we'll bind the chart to it. Okay, so let's do bar chart. Place it over here on the right side, and we'll add the data to it from our view object. Okay, so we want to show you the total number of sales and the customer name. Now you can still use things like filter criterion over here. So you can, for example, say what we want to show here is cases where the customer ID is equal again to the search ID that we have. Right. So initially we were showing all the customers. There's about 50,000 of them in the database, so it's a little dense over here. But then we can do search. So if we type number 2, we get customer number 2 and the result for that one. If we type in number 1, we can get the results for customer number 1. Doesn't have any sales, so don't show any information. Customer number 4 does have some sales, and we can see the information for that customer. So as you can see, it's very easy to build a modernized user interface with Visual Builder on top of your existing tables and views in your database.